And here we are once again, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to another Living Hope Today. And today we find ourselves in 1 Kings chapter 16. And things are getting worse. What can I tell you? We are now in the section of the book that takes us not only through the split of the nation of Israel. Now we have 10 tribes to the north called Israel. We have 2 tribes to the south called Judah. Jeroboam has been the king of the north, Rehoboam king of the south. And now the book is taking us through this succession of kings and how they lived. It's probably easier for me to just show you than to tell you about it. Let's see if I can make this thing work today. There we go. 1 Kings 16:1. Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, son of Hanani, against Baasha. Okay, so we remember that this Baasha guy is the king of the north, the Israelite kingdom. Okay, God's going to talk to him now through Jehu. And what does he say? Well, I lifted you up from the dust. I made you leader of my people Israel, but you walked in the ways of Jeroboam. You caused my people Israel to sin and to provoke me to anger by their sins. Just understand that walking in the ways of Jeroboam is as evil as you can get. In other words, no regard for God, no regard for what he said, no regard for obedience at all. Pagan worship, idolatry, every kind of evil is accepted. So, as God goes on, so I am about to consume Baasha and his house. I will make your house like that of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Dogs will eat those belonging to Baasha who die in the city. So if you're in the city and you die, if you're part of his kingdom, the dogs are going to eat you. And the birds of the air will feed on those who die in the country. What's the commonality? Everybody in his kingdom dies and they are not buried. There is no respect. Everybody is being judged. As for the other events of Baasha's reign, what he did and his achievements, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Baasha rested with his fathers. Okay, and he was buried in Tirzah, and Elah, his son, succeeded him as king. Okay, another king shows up. What do we know about this guy? Well, moreover, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani, to Baasha and his house because of all the evil he had done. I just want you to see this. The Lord isn't just being mean. He is judging, all right? Why does this happen? Because of all the evil he had done in the eyes of the Lord, provoking him to anger by the things he did, and becoming like the house of Jeroboam, and also because he destroyed it. So, okay, there's complete judgment proclaimed on the king called Baasha in the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah. Okay, Asa, remember, is now the king in the south. Judah and Benjamin are the 2 tribes in the south. So we see Elah, son of Baasha, became king of Israel, and he reigned in Tirzah for 2 years. Not very long. Why not? Well, because of this guy, Zimri. Zimri, one of his officials who had command of half his chariots, plotted against him. Oh, nothing like a little political intrigue. Maybe we're going to make it all the way to assassination. Let's see. Elah was in Tirzah at the time, getting drunk in the home of Arza, the man in charge of the palace at Tirzah. So Eli's getting blasted. What happened? Zimri came in, struck him down, killed him in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah. So the reference, timing-wise, is to compare the north to the south. So Asa is the reference point that we're told to look at as Zimri kills Elah. Then he succeeded him as king. So here we go, political assassination. Watch this. As soon as he began to reign and was seated on the throne, he did what? He killed off Baasha's whole family. He did not spare a single male, whether relative or friend. Okay, everybody dies. If you're associated with Baasha, you're dead. So Zimri destroyed the whole family of Baasha in accordance with the word of the Lord spoken against Baasha through the prophet Jehu. So we see it happening just as God predicted. Because of all the sins Baasha and his son Elah had committed, and they had caused Israel to commit, so they provoked the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger by their worthless idols. Again, idolatry is the main component to this judgment. It's such a consistently persistent behavior among the tribes of Israel during this period. As for the other events of Elah's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? And in the 27th year of King Asa, king of Judah, we're back to referring to the south, Zimri reigned in Tirzah. You see this? Zimri reigned in Tirzah for 7 days. So the king didn't have much time. He was able to kill all those people while he was king, but his legacy wasn't too long. The army was encamped near Gibbethon, a Philistine town. When the Israelites in the camp heard that Zimri had plotted against the king and murdered him, they proclaimed Omri, the commander of the army, king over Israel that very day there in the camp. Then Omri and all the Israelites with him withdrew from Gibbethon and laid siege to Tirzah. So now we have civil war again, but this time Omri is going to become the new king of the north. When Zimri saw that the city was taken, he went into the citadel of the royal palace and set the palace on fire around him. So he died. So Zimri now commits suicide by burning the palace down that he's in. Okay. So he died because of the sins. This is the line. It keeps coming. Because of the sins he had committed, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord and walking in the ways of Jeroboam. Just notice that Jeroboam is always associated with this evil, terrible conduct. And in the sin he had committed and caused Israel to commit. So Zimri made it 7 days. Omri is king now. As for the other events of Zimri's reign and the rebellion he carried out, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Then the people of Israel were split into 2 factions. Oh, more political intrigue. Here we go. Half supported Tibni, son of Ginath, for king, and the other half supported Omri. Well, I wonder who's going to win that. But Omri's followers proved stronger than those of Tibni, son of Ginath, so Tibni died. And Omri became king in the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah. Again, we compare our timing to what's happening in the southern kingdom. Omri became king of Israel, and he reigned 12 years, 6 of them in Tirzah. Okay, 12 years for him. That's better than 7 days for Zimri, right? He bought the hill of Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver and built a city on the hill, calling it Samaria, after Shemer, the name of the former owner of the hill. But here we go again. It's getting worse. Omri did evil in the eyes of the Lord and sinned more than all those before him. Now that's quite a mouthful, because the kings before him have been just absolutely terrible. But Omri takes it to another level. He walked in all the ways of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Notice how Jeroboam keeps coming up, because Jeroboam sort of instigated this whole legacy of evil. And in his sin, which he had caused Israel to commit, so that they provoked the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger. Why? Because of their worthless idols. God is a jealous God. God is not going to allow his people to wander off to serve pieces of wood and rocks. Well, as for the other events of Omri's reign, what he did and the things he achieved, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Omri rested with his fathers. He was buried in Samaria. And Ahab, his son, succeeded him as king. Now, Ahab is a guy we're going to learn a lot about as the book continues. In the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, remember, Asa reigns for 41 years, so Asa's kind of old at this point. In his 38th year, Ahab, son of Omri, became king. Now Ahab is king. Okay. He's king of Israel, that's the northern kingdom, and he reigned in Samaria over Israel 22 years. So there are decades passing as we go from chapter to chapter here. Ahab, son of Omri, oh man, you got to be kidding me. He did more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him. So we ratchet up to another level of evil, thinking that Omri was the worst you could get. Jeroboam was really bad. Now we're all the way up to Ahab, who's just doing terrible things. He not only considered it trivial to commit the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, but he also married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and he began to serve Baal and worship him. So the king of Israel has declared himself a worshiper of Baal, I guess you say. He has gone completely out of bounds. The text moves us forward. He set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal that he built in Samaria. Ahab also made an Asherah pole, that's kind of like a totem pole, and did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger than did all the kings of Israel before him. So what do we see? We see that the northern kingdom is just going downhill over decades of time. It just keeps going lower and lower. How low can you go? Well, Ahab represents a new low, the lowest that there's been. In Ahab's time, Hiel of Bethel rebuilt Jericho. Oh, this will be interesting. He rebuilt Jericho. Okay. He laid its foundation at the cost of his firstborn son, Abiram. Okay, so one of his sons dies, and he set up its gates at the cost of his youngest son, Segub. His second son dies. And then the text tells us this: in accordance with the word of the Lord spoken by Joshua, son of Nun. Now that should take us back to the book of Joshua. Do you remember when Joshua and the Israelites went into Jericho and wiped it out? Do you remember what was said? Well, let me take you there. Joshua 6. At that time, Joshua pronounced this solemn oath: "Cursed before the Lord is the man who undertakes to rebuild this city, Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn son will he lay its foundations. At the cost of his youngest will he set up its gates." Isn't that fascinating that here we are in 1 Kings 16, hundreds of years later, and the guy that decides to try to rebuild Jericho experiences the death of his firstborn and his second son, just as Joshua chapter 6 said it would be, to try to rebuild that city. God never forgets, and God always does what he says he's going to do. So let's think about this before I go today. I just want you to see this again, and we're going to try to compile this as we continue through the book of Kings. Remember how this works. First, Jeroboam, he reigned for 22 years, and that E next to him is standing for the fact that he was proclaimed to be evil in the eyes of the Lord. Rehoboam was king of the southern kingdom, Judah and Benjamin. He reigned 17 years. E for evil for him as well. Nadab, Jeroboam's son, made it 2 years. Again, he did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Abijah, son of Rehoboam, made it for 3 years. Again, evil. Just notice everybody's going the wrong way. Baasha, 24 years, evil in the eyes of the Lord. Oh, there's Asa. 41 years was his reign, and he was faithful to the Lord. Let's highlight him. He's the only one so far that we've seen. Elah, 2 years, he's drunk. He's doing the same evil that his forefather Jeroboam did. We've been told that Asa has a son, Jehoshaphat, but we don't know really anything about him yet. Okay, but he's in the southern kingdom. Zimri, he only made it 7 days, but he was totally evil. Omri made it 12 years. He took evil to another level. And then Ahab shows up. He reigned 22 years. And evil was off the charts when it comes to how he lived his life. So we're watching the decline of the people of God in the promised land. We're watching them continue their journey away from God. Eventually, God is going to kick them out of the promised land, send them into exile. We'll see that as we continue, but as we open chapter 17 next time, we'll start to learn about a prophet that God sends named Elijah. He is going to try to convict those who are doing such evil of what God says and what God wants. Serve the Lord in obedience today. God does react against evil. God will eliminate it in His time. We want to be faithful to Him. God bless you, church. Serve.
Who is it who for sinners shed His blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who He is? He's the image of the invisible God, and He's the brightness of His glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.